Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She should be your real estate voice, and this is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, host of the program, owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, most home sellers have a great deal of love for their properties, and sometimes that translates into a bit of unrealistic beliefs, resulting in some mistakes either in agent selection, pricing, or marketing, perhaps, or all three of them. So, Barb, given all the circumstances, how does a home seller know when it's time to actually change agents?
Well, Richard, selling a home, everybody assumes that when I put my house on the market, it's going to sell. And unfortunately, every month it has a 65% failure rate for various reasons. Sometimes it's not the house, sometimes it's the buyer, sometimes it's the agent, sometimes it's pricing, sometimes it's preparation, sometimes it's how it's marketed online. All these things can prevent a home from selling. So, if it's pricing and promotion, those are easily fixable things, very easily fixable things. But some agents and some home sellers actually kind of have a pessimistic view about it. And they'll say, well, anybody can lower the price. Right. But the agent that decides what it's worth, it's not the seller that decides what it's worth. It's what the buyer is willing to pay. So if you have a promotion problem, like a marketing problem, that's also very easily fixable. A lot of agents solely rely on what I call the post and hope strategy. They get some pictures, more and more of them are doing professional photos, which I think that's good, but sometimes still not. And then they stick it in the multiple listing service and they hope and pray somebody else has a buyer that will buy their listing. They may or may not take great photos. They may or may not have their own buyers. And then the other question is, are they really marketing the best attributes of the home? Are they really talking about what would make this home stand out over the sea of other homes? And we're already early in the year getting to, just in this area, over 3,000 homes. That's on the high side of inventory. Typically, we'll see that kind of inventory in the summer. And then the other question is, when they're promoting, do they really know what's going on in the market? I've talked to agents, I talk to them every day, and they're assuming it's a buyer's market and we deserve a discount and we're going to come in with a low price and we're going to ask for closing costs and try to get stuff for the buyer. But if they're not aware that there's other interest in the home, or if they don't ask that question and they get shot down, their buyer, loses out on the house. So I'm not saying every seller should switch real estate agents if it's not selling. It might be a really simple thing that fixes it. I get questions like this every week from sellers that are signed with other agents. I'm just saying, start with trying to give the agent a chance to resolve the issue. I mean, some of the stuff I hear is astounding. I had one where the listing expired, not for a day or two, but like weeks. So when a listing expires, there are agents that market to expired listings, and they'll find the seller's phone number and call and go, hey, your home is no longer on the market. Would you like to list with me? So that's what they do. And that's oftentimes how the seller finds out it dropped off the market. Sometimes it's just a data error and it's easy to fix, but it shouldn't go on for weeks, right? That's a party foul right there. Or I had one that said, I heard of one that said, let me keep listing. We've got some interest. Let me just extend one more day or one more week. And he's like, okay, did you want to send me over the extension form? Because it does have to be in writing. Oh, well, I don't want to do all that paperwork. I'm like, it's one page. It's not rocket science. So, I don't know. There's no job description to be a real estate agent, none whatsoever. The only thing they train and kind of teach and regulate is how to fill out a contract that was created by attorneys and how to keep the broker out of trouble and what they can and cannot do, right? But other than that, they don't teach them the stuff that the consumers expect that we know. things like marketing, how to get business, things like how to handle objections. So let's say you're in the house and the buyer loves everything except, there's a way to handle that, right? There's a way to handle objections when you're there with the buyer. And instead of saying, well, if you really love this home, maybe we should go to the office and explore it further. Instead, oh, let's go look at more homes, right? And then it's just a sea of homes that they get confused about. So I would say first, give them a chance to resolve the issue. But how do you identify that there are reasons? Is there a lack of communication? Did the house not sell? Was the promotion wrong? Did the agent put the needs of the seller ahead of their own needs? If they are signed under a seller agency, they should be. But I see all kinds of stuff out there. And then I see confusion about what's really in the state form to handle the sale. Like they'll say, okay, well, if you're going to switch agents, then anybody that showed during my listing, you still owe me a commission. Well, that's not what the contract says. And a lot of agents don't even know that. So, I'm going to talk about that in the second half of this segment, but you don't want a post and hope agent. You want an agent that's going to help you get to the finish line. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about how and why to change real estate agents if the sale is not working. And then next up, we're going to talk about some things that you should know if you are thinking of making a change. And if you are, we'd love to talk to you. Give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
I'm Richard Randall. Take my word on it. Barb will not only get you to the finish line, she will get you across the finish line. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with the host of the program, Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. So Barb, if a home seller has to make a real estate agent switch, what are the reasons and ways to change real estate agents?
Well, I mean, the reasons, let's start with the reasons. It's really interesting that the state forms really don't talk much about performance. We have to use them. If we don't use them, they could take us to the Division of Real Estate and, fine us basically. But there's nothing there about the quality of performance, although it does say that if the agent didn't do what they promised to do, whether it's verbal or written, you have a right to cancel the contract, right? So what was that? Are they making promises? Are they doing what they said they're going to do? And that is the question. And it's somewhat subjective, but it's in the exclusive right to sell contract under paragraph 19. It basically says if they don't fulfill their obligations, then you could cancel the agreement, even if it's not expired yet. A lot of people think that they have to wait until the expiration of the agreement, but that's not necessarily true. But what I find striking is that the state forms don't really say anything about what the agent should be doing. It's more of, okay, I'll do a good job and I won't tell people you're willing to accept less than asking. And that's about it. Now, the uniform duties are kind of in general, like keeping the seller performed, presenting all offers in a timely manner, that kind of thing. I've heard of agents actually changing the price of a listing without written permission from the seller. Could you imagine, Richard?
I cannot imagine that at all. That is unbelievable.
Yeah, but most of the consuming public does not necessarily want to make waves and go to World War III about it. It's not worth it. Generally, they're just going to make a switch if crazy stuff like that takes place. But it's unusual, but it does happen once in a while. So the big question I get from home sellers is, if I switch agents, and let's say somebody showed back during my previous listing, do I also owe them a commission too? Well, first of all, they don't tell us who they are showing with. We know who the agent is because they have to schedule a showing and we get their name and email and phone number. We know when they showed, but we don't know who they showed unless we had it on video, and we still don't know their names, right? So the real rule is about who owes the commission has to do with what they call an unbroken chain of events. The agent showed the home, the buyer made an offer, there was no hesitation. If there's a month break and then they come back and make an offer, which sometimes happens, that's a broken chain of events, right? So whoever brings the offer and whoever's listing it is at the time, that's where the commission is owed. But there's this clause in the state exclusive right to sell contract that says holdover. And a lot of agents have a weird perception about what that means. So that would be one paragraph of all of the paragraphs in the exclusive right to sell as a seller that I'd raise my eyebrow and lean forward and get some details on. I actually don't fill it out. If I get fired, I'm moving on. I'm busy enough. I don't, I want happy clients, essentially. That is more important to me than fighting with somebody over a maybe deal. It doesn't make sense. So generally the home sellers really don't like breaking the bad news and say, okay, this isn't working. We're gonna, explore other options. The agreement actually belongs to the employing broker, not the real estate agent underneath them. But so sometimes I've heard of brokers getting in and go, oh, let me insert some other agent to try to make this work. And it's up to you at the end of the day. And it's about what they promised. Did they do what they promised or not? I've heard of some where the photos were bad. The seller asked them to update the photos. They didn't do it. And then they're surprised when they get fired. So if you're thinking of making a switch like that, read your agreement, make sure you keep a copy of it, ask some good questions, have some specific reasons. And sometimes a fresh pair of eyes on a problem can really solve the problem. So if you are thinking of making a move, we have a free report that you can order on our website if you're going to make a change. It's called the 10 questions you must ask when you're hiring an agent. Just go to barbhasthebuyers.com, click on the green button, free report, and you can download that for free. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, you can reach Barb at 719-301-3900 or by visiting barbhasthebuyers.com. When we come back, we'll be discussing what are the cost of selling a house in Colorado plus Barb's hot new listing.